Commander Elias Wren stepped through the shimmering gate onto the Hellion core and felt the hum of alien graviton fields shift around him. Even after 2 weeks of preparation, the scale of the structure still hit him hard. Towers curved like carved silver, suspended in low orbit above a moon stripped and reforged into a political fortress. Walkways floated between platforms without visible support, each glowing with pale blue conduits carrying the Council's lifeblood, energy, data, power. And everywhere, the eyes of the galaxy watched him. Humans rarely visited the core. Fewer still walked alone. Elias kept his pace smooth as surveillance drones drifted overhead, scanning his stance, gait, and temperature. He saw multi-limbed diplomats leaning close to whisper jokes about the newcomer species. A cluster of crystalline entities angled their facets toward him, refracting amused glimmers. Even the guards, tall armored forms with insect-like helms, stared through him as if he were a quaint curiosity. Exactly as the Council wanted. He adjusted the diplomatic crest on his uniform and continued forward. Earth had sent him alone for a reason. A single human walking into the galaxy's oldest institution carried its own quiet message: we are not intimidated. We are here because we choose to be. The Hellion chamber opened before him like a massive amphitheater shaped from molten orumstone. Light coursed along the walls in living rivers. Platforms floated at varying heights, holding delegates from thousands of civilizations. Voices layered into a soft roar, until they noticed him. The noise shifted. Laughter, disguised as polite murmurs, rippled through the tiers. Elias stepped onto the central dais, feeling the weight of their attention settle like a tightening collar. The Council's presiding figure, the Archon of Hellion, a tall, pale being with elongated features, spoke first. Human representative. Approach. Elias bowed with measured civility. Commander Elias Wren of Earth, here to discuss violations against Terran colonies. A wave of amusement moved around the chamber. The Archon gestured, and the holodisplays flickered to life, showing ancient footage of human wars, nuclear detonations, trench slaughter, orbital strikes. They played it like a comedy. Delegates murmured. Chaotic species. Emotion-driven. Primitive instincts. Elias remained still. He had trained for this moment his entire life. The hollow faded. Another figure stepped forward, broad-shouldered, scaled, eyes cold as carved obsidian. Grand Strategos Viator, Supreme Commander of the Council Defense Fleet. His armor glimmered with ceremonial gold, each plate etched with victories centuries old. Viator smiled with practiced contempt. Human, he said, we know your nature. Fear drives every action your species takes. You wage desperate wars because you have never known stability. It is understandable. His voice echoed as he paced. Fear of war shapes you. Fear of losing shapes you. And now, fear of the Council forces you to beg for our protection. Laughter exploded across the chamber. Elias did not blink. We are not here to beg, he replied. Viator leaned closer. Then you are here to submit. He gestured, and a holographic treaty projected over the dais. Sign this, and Earth becomes a protected subject of the Council. Fail to sign, and you risk conflict with powers older than your species' history. Elias studied the treaty. It demanded resource rights, military oversight, and unrestricted access to human colonies. It was submission dressed as diplomacy. He looked up at Viator. Earth will not agree to forced guardianship. Viator's smile faded. You believe you have a choice? We do, Elias said, voice calm. And we will take it. The chamber buzzed with irritation. One delegate muttered. Stubborn creature. Another hissed. Ignorant. As the council recessed, Elias stepped back from the dais. His heart beat a steady rhythm, controlled, cold, focused. Earth had sent him to negotiate, not to surrender, and certainly not to be humiliated. He walked toward the lower hall when a soft voice whispered from behind a column. Human, here. A young alien aide, trembling, beckoned him into a shadowed alcove. I should not speak to you, she whispered. But your colonies, they were not lost to pirates. The Council ordered a fleet to remove your outposts. Elias didn't flinch. How many ships? 23. None have returned. That struck him. Not the attack. Earth intelligence had already suspected it, but the fact that none of the Council ships had come back. Who commanded them? He asked. Strategos Viator. Elias nodded. Thank you. The aide vanished into the deeper corridors, leaving him alone with confirmation of the conspiracy he had already feared. He returned to his quarters and activated a secure quantum channel. A small hologram flickered into shape. Admiral Cora Hale, commander of the Terran Vanguard. Report, she said. Viator's aggression is confirmed, Elias replied. And we have another development. His covert fleet is gone. I suspected as much. Protocol Solace awaits your authorization. Elias lowered his voice. Initiate. Admiral Hale nodded. The connection terminated. He exhaled, steady and controlled. Everything was unfolding faster than expected. Hours later, the Council reconvened. The chamber resumed its grand spectacle, expecting further humiliation. Viator approached first, voice amplified. Human representative, what is Earth's answer? Elias stepped forward. Our answer remains unchanged. Viator's jaw tightened. Then Earth shall face consequences. Before another word could be spoken, a messenger sprinted into the chamber, panting, eyes wide with panic. Strategos, your fleet, the fleet you sent to the Asterian frontier. Viator snapped. Speak! They're gone. Every ship. No survivors. No data traces. Nothing. A stunned silence spread across the chamber like a cold tide. Delegates turned toward Elias, suspicion shifting into unease. Viator glared at him. What did you do? Elias met his gaze without expression. We defended our people. You destroyed 23 Council warships? Viator roared. We warned you not to attack us. You dare threaten the Council? Elias stepped closer, voice low and unwavering. I do not threaten. I state facts. You attacked our colonies. You tried to intimidate us. You assumed humans would kneel. You assumed wrong. The Archon stared at him with something new, fear wrapped in fascination. Viator hissed. You think we fear your kind? Elias held his gaze. You should. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted, guards rushed to strategic points, and Viator's face twisted into a mix of fury and disbelief. Elias remained still in the center of the storm, a lone figure standing against thousands. War had not begun. But the galaxy had taken its first breath of truth. Humans were not afraid. Chaos had weight inside the council chamber. It pressed down like a shifting atmosphere as delegates shouted over one another, their voices layered with panic, disbelief, and desperate attempts to hide fear behind protocol. The disappearance of Viator's covert fleet had struck the chamber harder than any weapon. For the first time in centuries, the council felt vulnerable. Elias Wren watched the uproar from the central dais, hands clasped behind his back, expression steady. He let the storm build around him without blinking. A calm human among the galaxy's oldest powers created its own kind of silence. Slowly, eyes turned toward him again, not with ridicule this time, but with unease. Viator shattered the noise with a bellow. This is sabotage! No human technology could erase an entire fleet. Someone interfered. A crystalline delegate spoke, voice echoing like chimes. Strategos, you insisted humans were primitive. Now your ships vanish without a trace. Explain that contradiction. Viator slammed a clawed fist on the railing. The humans have allies. Or hidden weapons. Or... Elias cut him off, voice even. We defended our people. Nothing more. The chamber hushed immediately. The simplicity of the statement carried more impact than a threat. The Archon leaned forward, elongated face solemn. Commander Wren, are you implying Earth possesses military capabilities the Council is not aware of? I am stating, Elias replied, that Earth prepared for the possibility of betrayal. Murmurs rippled across the chamber again. Viator's expression hardened into rage. You dare imply we acted without cause? The strategos growled. Elias met his eyes. You attacked our colonies. You broke first contact law. You violated every principle this council claims to uphold. Some delegates looked away. Shame seeped into the room, an emotion they were unaccustomed to confronting. The Archon gestured toward a floating console. Instantly, a hologram appeared, grainy footage of a human outpost in flames, council warships firing down onto the settlement. The evidence had been secured by Terran scouts before the attack severed communications. Gasps spread through the tears. Viator snarled. Fabricated. Elias answered calmly. Your own fleet signatures are in the recording. The Archon's brows tightened. Strategos, respond. Viator hesitated for the first time. That hesitation broke him more than any attack could. Humans were expanding into restricted space. He snapped. We acted to maintain order. Elias raised a brow. Order built on fear is not order. It is tyranny. A tremor of agreement rolled through several delegations. The council had long hidden behind the veil of stability, but the footage peeled back years of unspoken suspicion. Viator's voice sharpened. Human, you overstep. Elias didn't move. No. I step exactly where truth requires. The strategos lunged down the steps, then stopped abruptly as guards cross-latched their weapons at him. The chamber had shifted. His authority no longer smoothed over contradictions. His confidence cracked beneath the weight of his failing narrative. Elias turned and walked toward the side exit. He had no intention of offering more debate than necessary. He needed privacy to connect with Earth Command, and he suspected Viator had more illegal pieces in motion. He wasn't wrong. Halfway through the corridor, a faint hum echoed overhead. Elias slowed, instincts sharpened. Metallic glints appeared above the arches, stealth drones, thin as blades, their energy signatures masked to avoid detection. An assassination attempt. Predictable. The first drone darted downward with a needle-thin plasma lance. Elias shifted his weight, caught the drone's chassis, twisted, and slammed it against the wall. Sparks burst across the corridor. Two more streaked forward. He rolled under the first blast, yanked a disabled drone free, and flung it into the path of the second. Metal collided with a crunch. Elias pivoted, ducked the third, and drove his elbow into its sensor core. The machine dropped, lifeless. The corridor fell quiet again. He wiped a streak of ash from his sleeve, exhaling slowly. Humans were adaptable because they never had the luxury of guaranteed safety. He touched the communication bead behind his ear. Elias to Vanguard Command. Admiral Cora Hale responded immediately, her voice sharp. We detected an attempted breach in your vitals. Status? I'm standing, he replied. Viator is escalating beyond politics. Prepare Phase 3. Understood. A pause. Are you certain it's time? They're forcing our hand, Elias said. If we don't control the escalation, they will. He cut the channel and returned toward the chamber. When he stepped back inside, the atmosphere had shifted from indignation to something colder, dread. Large tactical projectors hovered above the dais. Viator had summoned a crisis briefing. The hollow image displayed the remains of the covert fleet, except there were no remains. Only the final telemetry, engines overheating, shields failing, sensors blinded. Then nothing. Delegates whispered. Impossible. No weapon we know can erase signals. What technology is this? Viator pointed at Elias. The humans possess a hidden armada. They must reveal its nature immediately. Elias answered. You mistake capability for intention. We do not seek war. The strategos barked a cruel laugh. Your colonies fall, and you respond with annihilation. You call that peaceful? Elias stepped forward. We responded because you left us no option. The Archon interjected, tone uneasy. Commander Wren, humanity must clarify its military strength. If your species has concealed power, Before the Archon finished, alarms screamed. The chamber lights flickered. Holograms distorted. Every delegate froze as the walls vibrated under a distant, resonant hum. Elias knew the sound. Slipstream ruptures. He turned toward the massive viewing window just as space tore open in long, silent fractures. The stars bent, split, and warped. Through the rifts emerged the silhouettes of the Terran vanguard fleet, dreadnoughts, cruisers, battle carriers, cold, angular, and plated with obsidian armor. Their hulls absorbed light, giving them the impression of living shadows. The chamber fell speechless. Dozens of ships materialized in precise formation, weapons sheathed but shields raised in quiet readiness. Their arrival was not violent, but it was undeniable. The Ator staggered 2 steps back. What is this? Elias answered, his voice steady and controlled. This is the truth you refuse to hear. A council delegate whispered, trembling. How did they enter our system without detection? Elias faced the chamber. Humanity prepared for threats long before we met the council. We built our defenses in silence, hoping never to use them. The Ator's voice cracked with fury. This is an act of war. No, Elias said. This is a message. We will not be erased. The Terran Admiral's voice echoed through the chamber's comm system. Terran Vanguard standing by, Commander. Defensive formation complete. Elias nodded once. Hold position. The Ator rounded on him. You provoke annihilation. We will respond with force. Elias leaned forward slightly. Strategos, do not mistake restraint for weakness. The chamber quaked as Viator slammed his hand onto a concealed console. A deep rumble rolled across the core. Above the window, enormous panels peeled apart, revealing a superweapon hidden in orbit, a massive gravitational cannon humming with catastrophic power. Delegates screamed. The Archon shouted for shutdown protocols, but Viator had already locked them out. He pointed at the Terran fleet with a trembling, vengeful claw. Let us see, he roared, whether humans fear war now. The cannon began to glow, bright, blinding, unstoppable. Elias stood still. Not afraid. Waiting for the next move humans would inevitably face. The gravitational cannon reached full charge with a sound that felt more like pressure than noise, an immense distortion that vibrated through the Hellion chamber's walls. Delegates clutched railings. Holograms flickered out. Even the Archon stumbled as the core trembled under the escalating power of its own secret weapon. Outside the massive viewing window, the Terran Vanguard fleet held formation, dark silhouettes against the swirling glow of the weapon preparing to fire. Elias Wren stood motionless on the central dais, watching the vibration ripple through the chamber like a storm gathering its strength. The Ator's voice cracked through the tension. You brought this upon yourselves. Your arrogance ends now. Elias turned his head slightly. You fire that weapon, Strategos, and you will end more than you intend. The Ator's eyes burned with desperation. Let the galaxy watch humanity break. The cannon discharged. A blinding beam erupted outward, pure gravitational force concentrated to crush warships into atoms. It tore through the void toward the Terran fleet, bending space around it in a spiraling distortion. Delegates screamed. Some collapsed to the floor. Others covered their faces, unable to watch the slaughter they expected. Elias didn't move. Outside, the beam struck the Terran dreadnought Sol's horizon. Instead of rupturing, the dreadnought's armor ignited with a shimmering lattice of dimensional shielding. The beam spread across it like liquid light, warping and folding, unable to penetrate. Several outer plates buckled under the force, but the ship held. Council delegates gasped in unison. The Ator froze. Elias watched the beam ripple against the ships. You don't understand humans at all, he murmured. The Sol's horizon pushed power toward its slipstream mirror array. A pulse rippled outward, warping the gravitational beam into a spiraling arc. It bent, twisted, and redirected with controlled precision. The arc collapsed into a compressed point, then snapped outward toward a lifeless moon orbiting the core. The moon exploded in a silent burst of white fire. Shards scattered into the void. The beam faded. Silence fell across the chamber, heavy, absolute. Elias stepped forward. His voice carried through the stunned air. Strategos Victor, the weapon is disabled. You just demonstrated the exact threat humanity has prepared for. Victor's face twisted, not in disbelief, but in fear. He turned toward the nearest armed guards. Seize him! He threatens the council! The guards didn't move. The Archon rose slowly. Strategos, enough! Victor roared. You are blind! Humans will dominate us all if we do not crush them now. Elias met the Archon's gaze. We have no desire to dominate anyone. We only want the same rights your civilizations enjoy. Peace requires equality, not obedience. The Archon hesitated. The chamber held its breath. Victor stepped down the stairs, hands sliding toward a concealed wrist weapon. You expect us to trust your restraint? You are a species forged in constant war. Elias replied. War taught us survival, not conquest. Victor snapped. Lies! He lunged. Elias moved faster. Human combat training was built on centuries of close-quarters refinement, precise, efficient, unforgiving. He caught Victor's wrist, turned his momentum, and slammed him against the dais railing with a force that shocked the watching delegates. Victor dropped his weapon, snarling, clawing, thrashing. Elias pinned him with a single, controlled movement, and looked him directly in the eyes. This ends now. Guards rushed in and seized the strategos. He struggled wildly, eyes burning with hatred. You will regret this! Humans will bring ruin to the galaxy! Elias stood back, not raising his voice. The only ruin here is caused by your fear. The Archon straightened. Victor, you are stripped of command pending full investigation. The chamber guards dragged him away as he screamed curses in a language older than most civilizations present. With Victor removed, the tension in the chamber shifted, slowly, cautiously, towards something new. Delegates watched Elias with a mixture of awe and fear, but for the first time, the fear wasn't born from ignorance. It came from acknowledgement. The Archon turned toward him. Commander Wren, what does humanity want? Elias stepped forward. This moment mattered more than the fleet outside. We want a future where no species, young or old, is silenced or forced into submission. Humanity refuses to repeat the mistakes of ancient empires. We have strength, yes. But we choose restraint. He let the word settle. We want equal standing in the Council. We want protection for developing species. And we want accountability for those who abuse power. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Delegates exchanged glances. Many nodded subtly. A few tapped their consoles, preparing to cast votes. The atmosphere had transformed, not into fear, but into deliberation. The Archon lowered his head slightly. Your request is reasonable. He gestured toward the Council's voting display. We shall vote immediately. Elias watched quietly as lights flickered across the chamber. Blue glows signaled approval. Red showed rejection. For a long moment, the results teetered on the edge. Then the final votes cast their hue across the chamber, a majority of blue. Humanity had been accepted as an equal member. The Archon stood. By the ruling of the Galactic Council, Earth is no longer an outsider. His voice softened. Welcome, Commander Wren. May this mark a new era. Delegates applauded, not all, but enough. For many, this was history they had never imagined witnessing. Elias inclined his head respectfully, though his shoulders carried the weight of responsibility. Power was dangerous. Influence even more so. But Earth didn't step into this arena seeking either. They stepped in to survive, and now, to protect others. He activated a secure line to the fleet. Terran Vanguard, stand down. Hold position until diplomatic clearance. Confirmed. Admiral Hale replied. Your move, Commander. Elias ended the transmission and took a steady breath. The chamber lights dimmed, signaling the close of the emergency session. Delegates filtered out, still murmuring. He walked toward the observation window, staring at the Terran ships holding formation beyond the stars. Their presence had saved countless lives. Their revelation had changed the galaxy forever. Footsteps approached him. The Archon stopped at his side. You understand the burden you now carry? Elias nodded. Humanity will use strength responsibly. We learned that the hard way on our own world. The Archon studied him. We judged you poorly, Elias replied softly. Most did. That's why we had to stand. He left the chamber with a clear path ahead. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as guardians forged in the harshest chapters of existence. The galaxy once laughed at humans. Now it listened. Now it learned. Now it understood. Humans did not fear war, they feared injustice. And when pushed, they stood taller than anyone expected,